Our next speaker, Dr. Doreen Hamilton, is a clinical psychologist who once suffered from stage fright. Even though she had a successful private practice and worked with individuals to overcome their fears, she was able to hide the fact that she had a terror of her own. Speaking in front of groups. She set out to conquer this fear and discovered that being fully present in one's authentic self is the key to public speaking that connects with an audience in a powerful way. Doreen, author of Essential Speaking, the 7-Step Guide to Finding Your Real Voice, is founder of the Essential Speaking Institute and training director of Speaking Circles International. She has conducted seminars and trainings throughout the US, Canada, and Europe. Doreen leads speaking circles, teaches fearless speaking workshops, offers e-courses, consults with business clients, and is available for private coaching. Audiences are hungry for speakers who are authentic and who can genuinely connect with them. Today, Doreen will show you how with her 7-step guide. Please welcome Dr. Doreen Hamilton.
Thank you. Thank you. That breath that Sue taught us, huh? Early in my career as a psychologist, I was asked to speak at a conference of therapists. I said, no, I can't. I'm too afraid of public speaking. I get terrified. And the conference organizer looked at me kind of like this. You? You're a psychologist. Dr. Hamilton isn't fear your business. Yeah. I had to admit that I was not afraid in my office one-on-one. You know, here I am sitting, hello, and holding the people in their process and helping them go out into the world and be all that they can be. But, you know, it's easy to hide my fear. Put me in front of a clinical group, even people of my peers, and when it started to go around to right about there, we were giving case presentations. You know, I don't know if anybody, when you started your speaking career, if this was part of what went on for you, and the ears. I couldn't hear. My brain was full of the pounding heart. So that moment, you know, caught. It was time. But that was what my business was about anyway, about self-exploration. So that was the beginning, and I took a Learning Annex class in San Francisco. I don't think they're still around. I ended up teaching it, but I started that first night, learning to overcome your fear of public speaking. And the man said something that was profound, really profound for me. And I imagine that in your trainings here, you know, like today even, you're going to walk away, like what Sue said, with a nugget here. What he said is that Michelangelo chiseled until he set the angel free, which means he saw the angel in the marble. What that meant to me is that with all that PhD, Dr. Hamilton, hello, that was just marble. That was just years of training. But inside was Doreen, the introvert, actually. So how could an introvert get on a platform, a stage, and speak and pass on what she loved and why she's doing this work in psychology in the first place? Is to bring out, you know, the beauty in people, the life force. And so today, you know, and Craig asking me to be here today is about, well, how do we do that? How do you do that as speakers? And I'm so glad to hear there's been a transformation in the National Speakers Association, because that's part of why my journey took me further down the road to speaking circles, and I'll be talking about, because these steps are based on the speaking circle process, because that's what resonated with me as a psychologist, is learning how to be yourself, learning how to bring out your own potential. And early on in the national speakers, this was 30 years ago, it was more about performance. And I didn't see myself as that kind of a, ooh, ah, you know, as an introvert. I just wanted to be up here. And my first mentor, Lee Glickstein, who started Speaking Circles, said magnetic when he gave me feedback. You're a magnetic speaker, Doreen. You're not one of those, you know, go out and rouse them up type speakers. You're just somebody who comes up with a heart full of love and wants to share. So that's what I'm doing here today, is sharing this process that I've put together that's based on Speaking Circles. I know I talked to somebody who's done Speaking Circles. Janet, in the back of the room. Anybody else who's done Speaking Circles here? You have, Joe? Yay. Only two. Craig with me once, yeah?
A couple videos.
A couple of videos. Yeah, speaking of videos, we used to do VHS tapes. Yeah, and then we moved to the flash drives, and now we're doing memory cards. So in Speaking Circles, and I'll tell you more about what that process is, now we're using memory cards. So that's why I gave these away to you, because I'm not going to be using these flash drives. Perhaps you can use them. So that's my gift to you, are the flash drives. And you'll see on your tables, I put the list, and I'm just going to briefly go through that today. And I'm going to have 4 people that I get to coach. Yeah, Janet, Kim, David, and Karen. Good. And I'm going to ask you to do something before we actually have your presentation, and it'll be something really sweet, I guarantee you. So, first of all, and it's what our presenter this morning told us about, is how do you really be? Because all of hers were being, weren't they? Being present, being open, and being mindful or flexible. So look it's the same thing. That's what Craig is doing, bringing all of us together today to remind you it's all about being. And that was what I learned, is that it wasn't so much about how I said something and the vocal variety, which I did learn, and that's where I met Craig years ago, a lifelong friend, a wonderful lifelong friend from Toastmasters. But it's all about being. Being what? Well, how do you do that? I could say be authentic, and you come up, well, how do I be that way? And you got some tips from Sue today, and I'll give you a few more right now. It's learning to be silent. So many people who come to my workshops say, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my way, I'm going to get scared, and I'm going to start going blank. And I said, well, get comfortable being blank first. It's that breath and that silence. And that's where the connection is. Words are important, yes, but give space. And for professional speakers, how that's important is pause. But you have to be comfortable. And it's not an artificial, okay, here's in my script, I'm going to pause. It's more like a natural kind of, in the moment, I'm going to take a breath, and I'm just going to pause and be with you. And in fact, we call this relational presence. That's what I titled it. What I like to call it, and what Lee and I did in the beginning, is called the be with. And so that's what we're looking at, is your ability just to be with yourself and be with your listeners, one person at a time. And in being present, what I noticed today with Craig, he used the music, he used the phone ringing. So being present, being in the moment as a speaker, you saw that even with Sue, that this is so important to have the ability to take what's in the room, what's here right now, so that you can incorporate it, include it into your talk. The fire drill that she talked about when she had to run out of the room with the whole group. So being present, being here now, is where the power is with speaking. And you'll notice that right now, as I look at you, I'm really looking at you. Joe and I talked a little bit earlier today about this. What I liked when he gave his 3 minutes this morning is how engaging he was. And he said, well, I'm afraid that if I really pay too much attention, I'm going to stare down. Well, it's not a stare down. I'd like to be talking about this being aware, using your eyes more as a soft gaze, as opposed to a staring at somebody. It's more of a invitational, kind of a warm greeting, eye to eye, not being afraid to let people see my eyes and not being afraid to look at your eyes. Because now your eyes to me are windows, right? I'm able to say, oh, I really like who you are inside. I really like what I'm seeing. Because what I'm looking for, this is just like in my office, sitting down, listening one person at a time, finding the best that I could respond to in each person. In my own practice as a psychologist, what happens is that people think they're there for pain and they got to go back in history and unravel, uncover family trauma. And what's different when they come to see me is that they see that I am falling in love with their beauty, with their essence. It's partly why I've written this book called Essential Speaking, because I think it's all about essence. Some people might say soul, and we say authentic self, but it's really more about the essence of who you are. And how we find that is by being positive. So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at you and I'm seeing what I like about each one of you. And you're all a little bit different. And it's like, ooh, I want to go be friends with this person. Ooh, yay, I can't wait to play. Let's talk later. So there's this engaging, I mean, I guess people call it charisma, but it's really about being able to find, as you listen to people, listening to you. That's what I'm doing. I'm not listening to you as, are you like this, or are you in your... But what I'm doing is listening to the way that you are listening to me, so that there's a channel here. We have an open, empty channel, and I'm listening to you, listening to me, so that just because I'm up here, does that mean you're listening? So how do I help you? Sue called it, I think she said, paying attention in a way that my words will go into your essence, hopefully. So it's a little like you have a glass of, empty glass, and I'm going to have some wine, and I'm going to pour my words into your empty glass. Here's another one. I'm just going to go like this. Joe mentioned also when we were talking, well, you don't want to single somebody out, like, you're looking at the friendly faces. But what Sima said just a second ago, too, is, pay attention to those who might be having some trouble listening to you or resistance, And so the way that you are listening to people, listening to you, is warm-heartedly. And they feel it. They feel that you are really captivated by them. And I think that, and again, this is more the old speakers, national speakers style, is to, I'm the captivating one, listen to me. I'm going to inspire you. But what I feel, and I feel it right now, looking out at the audience, looking at each one of you, you are inspiring me just to feel more alive right now in this moment, and my words are going to come out new each time. So this connection, be connected, it's a little like a plug, that you've got this open, and I'm going to plug into you, I'm going to plug into you, so that there's energy. And just because this is electric right now doesn't mean that it's not electric over here, because it's electricity in the room. One of our speakers also talked about, Sue, I think, the flatness that goes on sometimes. And the way to come back to yourself and to come back to this moment is to find somebody in the room and go, hello. I mean, well, not literally hello, but it is that sense of, we're connected, we're connected. I've taught all around the world now. What an opportunity I got out of speaking circles. In fact, when Lee started doing facilitator trainings, I said, just let me be in the back of the room. I love the process so much because it's about people being authentic and real. And after a couple of times sitting in the back of the room, he said, you could be training director of Speaking Circles International. So that was how I stepped into and got to be able to go to Holland. And there was a moment in Holland where people were speaking in front of the room, and they were speaking in Dutch. And I was able to, in this kind of listening that I'm talking about, and this opening your heart, and listening more deeply to the essence of somebody, and as we listen to the rest of the speakers today, be mindful of listening to them in more of their essence. Yes, their words are important, but what are they radiating? So this person who is in Holland was, whatever she was saying in her language, I could feel her. And part of the process is that in speaking circles, we give people what we call essence appreciation. And so I was able to say something like, so kind, and your words are magic. And who knew she was talking about magic? It was this kind of like language, and who we are gets communicated very easily this way when you're listening more deeply. One of the things you notice when I lead my workshops in San Francisco, Fearless Speaking workshops, people, speaking of diversity, from all corners of the world coming to San Francisco, trying to find a better life, and they come to this class on how to speak, and they see my list, and they go, oh, aren't we here to learn to be better speakers? Aren't we here to learn to be someone who's not afraid? Well, it's not about speaking, it's about being, is my message. That's what I keep coming back to, because that's what it is in my office, one-on-one with folks, is it's about who you are. And so as speakers, as professional speakers, I think that that's really important here for you guys too, is to know that you are the message. And in my office, I talk about potential. And just yesterday, it was interesting, I was thinking about today, the word potent is in potential, right? And today's topic is going from good to great as speakers. So to me, this training that you've been doing here and that you will continue to do is helping you be a potent, a powerful speaker, but it's in your potential. So what I'd like to do now is to ask David to come up in just a second, and I'll tell you what I'm going to ask you to do. And what we are going to do is to give him essence appreciation, not about his words, not about what he's talking about, not about his content, not about anything around what he's saying. It's just, if he stood up here and didn't say a word, or if he was like speaking in a foreign language, you'd still be able to sense some kind of quality about him that you want to go, yay, to. I mean, that's what applause is, to me, is yay.
Well, David, didn't Sima ask you in that dialogue, wasn't comfortable the thing that you wanted to be? Was it comfortable or secure? What was it? It was comfortable. So I see this is perfectly leading into extending
And I picked him first, huh? Okay, so just, I don't have my, good. We'll just have a minute. And tell us something about what you learned today. One thing that's been really, kind of like what I heard from the teacher that talked about the angel and the marble. What today had impact on you? And the microphone is here. Just put it. what you've learned today that's impacted you already, that's had meaning?
I learned quite a few things today. Every speaker today added more to the speaker, to the next speaker. And as, for example, Seema was talking about cultural diversity, and I can relate to that. How many of you have been to another country other than the United States? And you know, you had to learn their culture. I was in Taiwan, and I don't speak Taiwanese, Chinese, and if you've been there, everything is in Chinese. All the street signs, the map is in Chinese, and not only that, but even I had the opportunity to drive in China. And if you really think about it, I felt good in a way. You know, they have a lot of scooters over there, and I was surrounded by
Finish up.
I was surrounded by scooters, and I felt like a celebrity driving in Taiwan.
Yeah, okay, just stay and let us applaud you. Now just stay there, David. And words. Don't you feel like his brightness? What other positive essence words did you pick up? Warm. Warm. Sweet. Amazed. So we could go, yeah. Relational, that is good, yeah. Trustworthy. Wise, wonderful. Okay, so that's part of what the speaking circle process is that people come and it's not about putting on an act or even saying what a speech is, like a crafted speech. It's about coming and in fact what you're going to be talking about today. All of this is what is radiating out from you, and that's what's the important part, and being able to do what you're doing with me right now, in the listening, speaking into the listening. Thank you, David. Karen, come on up. Tell me something about your children.
Now that's a topic I can talk about for years. So I actually had children very, very late in life. And I had, my first son was born, and I won't ever forget coming home from the hospital, and we laid him on the bed, and then my husband and I looked at each other and said, what have we done? There's no help here but us. And then after that, we proceeded to have twins, and now we're outnumbered. So, and they're all boys. They're all very testosterone-laced boys, so they swing from the ceilings. But I have to say, I have learned more from my children than I think I have learned in my entire life, because they come up with these sayings, my twins in particular, in the backseat of the car, forget you, forget that you're there. And they proceed to explain how the world works to each other. And there is nothing more hilarious than that.
Wonderful. Words. Sense of humor. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say genuine too. Just really real. Real. What did Craig say today? Down and real. Remember that first thing he talked about? Loving. More. Confidence. There's confidence. And I said genuine. I wish I could do this with everybody today, but we've got to move on and do your presentations, but I hope that warms you up a little.
Thank you.
We can have a round of applause for Dr. Hamilton.